guys, welcome back to the Leena Guiger Show, hosted at the Milk Cake Man. And today we have a very special guest. We have Jamelia Donaldson, who's the CEO of Tress.
Yeah.
Hello, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me. I've never been, but I've heard a lot about it, so I'm excited to be here and excited to read off the menu.
Ooh, okay, so what are you picking?
I am a hot chocolate type of gal, so I'm going to go with hot chocolate with oat milk. The taco pancake sounds really good, but I think I'm going to go with the blueberry pancakes.
That's new on the menu as well.
Ah, there we go.
They're good. I'm going to go for a milk cake, so I'm going to go for the saffron one, which is my favourite, and I'm going to go for an iced Spanish latte. Let's dig in.
It's so pretty. I don't want to interrupt the design.
I do this every time. I stop eating it for a bit, and then I try it. I'm like, wow.
So good.
How are your pancakes?
Really good.
I'm glad you're enjoying them, and you're cold chocolate at this point.
No, it's actually hot.
Yay! Okay, so I know that you are in business, and I know that you're CEO and founder of Tress. Can you shed some light on that? What is Tress, and how did it start?
Sure. So Tress is Europe's largest subscription box for women with naturally curly hair. So every month we send our subscribers out a new range of products to try. So that's like a shampoo, a conditioner, a leave-in conditioner, an oil or a gel.
And how much is this subscription box?
£25 per box, so £25 a month, and you get literally your full wash day in a box delivered directly to your house. Yeah.
Not me subscribing to you straight away.
So I started it primarily because I've always been in love with like hair and beauty, always. When I was in school, I used to get in trouble for like doing the girl in front of me's hair. I was always like undoing someone's braid and redoing it. Then when I got to secondary school, I was earning money from like braiding hair.
No way.
In like break time, after school.
She's been making money from day.
I was like, right, I've actually
you owe me £5.
So, yeah, started really, really early on my business journey without realizing it because I was like earning money, doing things that I like.
You were in the venture without even knowing it.
There we go, yeah. And then my mum's an educator. She's part retired now, but she was a head teacher. Her mum was a teacher. So they were always very much like, oh yeah, of course you're going to be a teacher. And I was like, no, actually.
And follow the lineage.
Yeah,
why not?
That's actually not what I want to do. Like, I want to do something else. I think it's just because I didn't want to do what they expected of me.
Just go against everything they wanted.
Literally.
Did you ever think you'd go into hairdressing?
That's what I wanted to do. And my mum was like, absolutely not. She was like, you can own a salon, but you can't be a hairdresser. And I was like, oh, okay.
But I think it's, and I've said this before, it's wanting the best because they've seen the struggle. They've already gone through that struggle. And they're like, no, I'm trying to save you from that.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you everything I know and I want you to better yourself.
Exactly, yeah. I don't think it was coming from a place of like...
No, never. It's always love.
It was just a place of fear, I think, because obviously as a hairdresser, you can earn as much money as you want to, depending on who your clients are. So becoming a hairdresser was like a no. And then my mum was like, listen, you're always arguing with your brother. Why don't you just become a lawyer? Because you love arguing so much. And I was like, oh, you got a point. And I always win. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm going to be a lawyer. So I applied to Aston in Birmingham and I was due to study law. At the time, I wasn't doing A-levels. I was doing something called the International Baccalaureate, which is IB.
Okay.
So instead of 4 subjects like A-levels, you do 7 subjects at A-level standards.
Wow, and to be honest, 4 is tense.
It's so intense.
So how were you doing 7 is what I want to know.
Exactly. But my thinking was that I wanted whatever qualification I got, I wanted to be able to use it anywhere in the world. Because in my mind, I was like, of course I'm going to travel. Like I want to have experience.
It's an international course?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know what that was.
I knew it because my mum's in education, but like kids in France, Switzerland, they always do the International Baccalaureate over anything else. So I was like, okay, this is like almost like my passport, which meant that I could go to university anywhere. Then I found out that the uni I wanted to go to in America was 40 grand a year. So I was like, okay, that's not going to happen. So I applied to Aston in Birmingham. And I
fraction of the price.
Literally. I applied for the law degree and then I missed it by 2 points because with the IB, you don't get like A, B, C, you get numbers.
Yeah.
And I think I needed 34 points and I got 32 points. Oh. And I was gutted. Like
everything happens for a reason.
That's what I realised. Yeah. It took me a long time to realise that.
Yeah, it would.
But at the time I was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. All my life I've wanted to study law. Now I'm not going to get to study it. And my mum was like, why don't you just go somewhere else and study law? And I was like, no, I want to go to Aston.
Yeah. But this is going a bit off topic, but don't you ever think going to university, we're so young. Like, I remember being in university and like I'm looking back now thinking, there's stuff that I was taught and I just didn't understand. But now, if I was to go to university, I would understand.
It would make a lot more sense.
And it would be so much more impactful. Like, I think I would actually learn so much more.
Yeah, definitely. You'd get more from your degree.
Yeah.
So I didn't get onto the law degree. So I was like, okay, what's the next best thing?
Yeah.
And then there was a degree that was business and international relations. And I was like, interesting. Didn't care about the business part at all, but was really interested in the international relations part because I love traveling. I love like having new experiences. Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. It sounds like I can travel if I do that degree. So
I think at that point, like, I just want to get out of the country, guys. Anything that will take me a year abroad, I'm there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really what it was. So I was like, okay, cool. International baccalaureate. I'll international relations. I'll do that with business. Cool. Yeah. So that required me to have a year's experience, industry experience. Mm-hmm. And it also opened up the door to like loads of volunteering opportunities. So I was like, okay, cool. So everyone in my degree class, they were going to like the Big Four to get consulting jobs, banking jobs. And I was like, I don't really want to do that. I just want to go to New York and like have a good time and like experience life. Yeah. So me and one of my uni best friends, we were like, should we just go to New York? And she was like, yeah. And we were like, okay, cool. We need to find internships. So we were like, what are we going to do? And we were like, whatever
anything at this rate,
we'll go. So I went to New York on a fashion internship. I went to New York for a fashion internship. Yeah. She went to New York for like a theatre production internship. She was studying sociology. Some website that we found. And like
anyone can take us.
But the goal was to get to New York, and we got to New York, and it was incredible.
How long were you there for?
A year, just under a year. So I started off in fashion PR. Then someone that we were sharing a house with, her friend was talking, and she was working for this guy that was running an entertainment PR agency. And he was looking for an intern. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll do both. I'll keep the fashion internship and I'll also do the entertainment PR internship. So then I was working with him, and then French Connection were hiring for internships. So I was like, I'm just going to do all three at the same time and like
just
figure it out.
Just everything.
Yeah. And it was amazing. Like I had some really random experiences. Like I had to drop like an outfit to Amber Rose one day and he was like, hey, take this. Then he was like, okay, take this to Vogue. Like I just had so many random experiences.
But don't you feel like all those random experiences help to become who you are today? Like
absolutely.
They've embedded so much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Even down to like what I was doing there was a lot of like putting together pitch decks for events and like pitching for sponsorships. And I was doing that at like 18 and I didn't realize. And obviously everything in America is on a much larger scale. So I kind of got used to like asking for a lot more than I would have if I was in the UK.
I know your worth as well. Like, you know what? I know this is the asking, but this isn't what I know I can have.
Yeah. And also one of the things that he used to say to me all the time was like, oh, no bad news. And I was like, what do you mean, no bad news? Like, if something bad has happened,
I gotta let you know.
I need to tell you. And he was like, no, find a solution and then come back to me with the solution. Don't come to me with bad news. And at the time, I thought he was so rude. But now it makes sense because that's something that I'm saying now. Like, okay, what's the solution? Like, don't come to me with a problem. Come to me with the solution that you found. So,
which is a good way to look at it as well.
Always. So many good experiences. And then I came back to the UK for my final year of uni.
Okay. And how old were you at this point?
19.
Okay, so still fairly young.
Yeah, but I'd been interning all this time in America, but I was interning for free. So as much as I was like pitching and like having all of these amazing life experiences.
So how were you funding yourself?
Savings and grants.
Okay, yeah.
I think I used my maintenance grant. Yeah, my maintenance grant. And
I
then
hated that. It was like anybody, why is this money running out?
So then I got back and I was like, all right, I've got about a month before I need to go back to uni. I need to earn some money. Yeah. So I applied for a role at an asset management firm. Ooh. And I got it, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Didn't know what an asset management firm was, but I was like,
on the video. Yeah.
I was like, I can figure it out. Like, and I think that's one thing that I've always kept with me throughout my life. Like, it doesn't matter what the challenge is, I'll find a way to figure it out. Yeah. So it's like, I'm going to apply for this role. I'm going to do as much research as possible. Like, I prepared for the interview like I was preparing for an exam. Like, I learned the history. I studied the firm because I was like, I need to get the job. Like, I need to earn some money. So I got that internship. It was meant to be a month, and then they were like, Jamelia, can you stay for 3? And I was like, sure. So
Don't ask me twice.
Literally. So I was literally working right up until my first lecture. And then went back to uni. They offered me the graduate position, which meant that when I finished uni, I could go back. So I went back for just under 3 years. And then while I was there is when I had the idea for Treasure. Well, I had the idea for Treasure Tress in New York the first time.
How did that come? Like, how did you even have that idea? Because it all starts from an idea, right? Unless you just push it out there.
Yeah. I think for me, what I've noticed in my experience is that the best brands and businesses come out of like a desire of frustration.
Yeah.
So when I was in New York, I skipped a bit. So when I went to New York, I actually went to Beijing on an internship, and I was in Beijing for a month. Yeah. And when I was in Beijing, I ran out of hair products and I somehow lost my hairbrush. And I don't look like anyone in Beijing. So when I went to the shop to try to find something, there was nothing there. I had to buy a shoe brush and some like Head and Shoulders conditioner that I knew wasn't going to work, and some like one...
How long were you there for?
A month.
Oh, so you needed something. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I don't have any pictures left from that trip because I don't think I took any after that point. But I ran out of hair products. And then when I went to New York, I was like in hair product heaven. Because there was every type of product that I could ever think of for like makeup, skincare, hair care, because they cater really well to black women in America. And then I got back to the UK and I was like, hold on a minute, all of the products that I've been using aren't here. Why can't I get hold of them?
And the accessibility of it, so like if you were to go into a shop, don't get me wrong, there's been times I'm like, is this going to work on my hair?
Exactly.
You know, it's telling me, for smooth, silky, but okay, my hair's sometimes coarse, my hair's sometimes curly, my hair's sometimes rough, so am I in the right place for it?
Exactly.
Which makes sense. Yeah. And I think the frustration is, where do we go?
Yeah, exactly. And how are we going to be treated when we go to those places? So while I was there, I also noticed that there was like this boom of subscription boxes. So there were subscription boxes for dog food, socks.
What, in Beijing?
In New York.
Oh, New York.
And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, do we have this in the UK? And I was looking online or whatever, and there wasn't anything in the UK for hair care specifically. Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. When I get back to the UK, if there's not a subscription box for hair, I'm going to try it and see what happens. So got back to London, obviously working in the internship, completing my final year of university, back in the role at the asset management firm. But I was working literally 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Yeah. Like really, really intense hours and a really, really critical role.
And you were still at uni as well?
No, this is when I graduated.
Oh, okay,
when I was
so after
back as a graduate. And I realised that, okay, I still have this idea, but I don't have time to try to pursue it. So I'm going to have to find time. So I started waking up at 5, working till 6, leaving my house at like 6:15, getting to the office for 7, coming back at like 8, working until 2, and like keeping that going for like 8 months.
Oh my God.
And then I just looked crazy.
Because you just think it's not sustainable.
It was not sustainable. I started losing weight. My skin started breaking out. I was like so unhappy. And I remember having a conversation with my little cousin, and she was like, well, Jam, if you really want to do Treasure Tress, then why don't you just quit your job? Like, why don't you just quit? And I was like...
It's not that easy.
Yeah, I was like, it's not that easy. Like, keyword little cousin. Like, younger people see things like so clearly, and it's like literally black or white. And I was like, do you know what? She's actually right. Like, what?
Because you were in finance at this point as well. Like, you were in a really good role.
Exactly. So earning good money. I was intentionally saving a lot, because I knew that at some point I wanted to pursue this.
It's just that matter of when is the right time. There isn't a right time.
There's not a right time. And I think that's what I was waiting for. And then when I had that conversation, it's right. When I had that conversation, I realized that, there's actually not going to be a right time. And she's right. Why don't I just quit and just see what happens? So
no, definitely. And I always think, if you look back and think that was the best time for me to start, well, right now is the best time for you to start. It's like, if you've got an idea and you think, I should have done that 2 years ago. Well, you got the idea still, and you can still do it now. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's never too late. And I think that's what we need to remember.
Absolutely. So, I handed in my notice. I didn't tell anyone until like the week before. And I was like, oh, by the way, Mum, like next week's my last week. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, but at that point, it was too late for her to have a reaction. Yeah. And I done that intentionally, because the year before I wanted to quit then, and I think I made the mistake of trying to get everyone else to validate my decision. Yeah. So I went and told everyone, like, oh, by the way, I'm going to quit. And everyone was like, what? Like, you make such good money. Like, why would you? Yeah. And I was like, no, but I want to quit. And then I kind of got talked off the edge. And then the next year came around, and I was like, do you know what? I actually really want to do this, and I'm just going to do it for myself, and I'll let everyone else know later.
And I think, even if you did that and it didn't work out, you still have your job to go back to. You still have that degree. You still have that experience. If anything, you'll just go somewhere else and try somewhere else. And I think failure is one of the biggest things to success, that you have to fail to learn.
Absolutely.
And you have to go through those things, because if you're not going through them, how would you ever learn from them? You'll just go through life thinking everything's amazing.
Yeah. And that's where the biggest lessons do have, when things don't go right. Or even when you take a risk and it does go right. It teaches you a lot. It teaches you a lot about faith. So
at this point, you were still like packing boxes in your house?
Still packing boxes in my house. Moved from my bedroom to my mum's living room to my mum's garage to like everywhere, and she was like, get out. Like, you need to go and get a warehouse. And I was like,
go do something else, get out of my house.
I was like, okay. So we went and got a storage unit and like turned that into like a makeshift warehouse, and then just kept expanding. Then we had like units on different floors, and then we were like, you know what, let's just get a bigger space. And then we combined, sorry, I think I got something on my lip. Then we combined the office and the warehouse.
All in one.
And that was like around, like just before lockdown, which was like a blessing and a curse. A blessing because we managed to like set up our own operations so we could still function as a business on our own terms.
And who was actually doing this with you? Was it just by yourself or?
No, I had a team. At that time, I'd say we were a team of 5 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's quite a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mainly we were working from coffee shop to coffee shop and working remotely at home. Okay. But it was a very big goal of mine to like get an office space so that we have a hub to work from. And then we quite quickly outgrew the first office space, moved to the second one, and then combined the warehouse and the office together, which meant that when it was locked down and like everywhere else was shut, we still had access to our own premises, which meant that we could still send out boxes, which was definitely a blessing and helped us optimize and take advantage of everything that lockdown brought, which was everyone ordering online.
At home ordering online.
Everyone's
crazy.
like trying to figure out how they take care of their hair.
It's like a baby Jeff Bezos. Everyone ordering from your subscription boxes.
And then, not to mention, shops that catered specifically to like kinky, curly Afro hair weren't deemed essential retail, which meant that they closed down as well.
Oh, no way.
Which meant that like if you were a black woman with your hair in its natural state, you couldn't get hair products. And that's when everyone was like, Treasure Tress. Like, try Treasure Tress. They deliver products directly to your house. Insane. And we saw people like tagging us on this page, tagging us on that page, like in the comment section. So I'd say that if I had to reference like a tipping point, that would definitely be one lockdown, because it made us hyper visible
on social media as
well. On social media, because otherwise, like, we were still growing very organically. We're not paying anything for ads. Like, that wasn't a thing for us. So yeah, that was
no way.
Kind of the summarized version, but I'm sure you asked more questions.
That's amazing. And you know what I love the most? That you were so persistent throughout all of it. Because it's so easy to fall back and be like, you know what? It's stress, it's this, it's that, or like, what are my family going to think? Or, okay, it's not working out. Or like when COVID came along, but I'm so happy it was such a big blessing for you. And I feel like a lot of the businesses that I've actually come across have stemmed from COVID. That we stemmed from COVID as well. And I just think that was the perfect time to just channel whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing hearing your story.
I have a lot of admiration for anyone that started a business in COVID. Because it's literally blind faith. Like, we didn't know when it was going to end. We could not see through to the other side. At
the time, it was like the world was ending. It's like, what is going on?
But yeah, kudos to you guys, because that's such a brave decision, but it's paid off.
Well, I hope so.
It will.
It will.
It always does.
So talking from, obviously, like when you set it up, you've got the office space. What is the plan for like the next few years with the subscription boxes? Because I've seen that you do a lot of community work as well, like with young girls.
Yeah, that's like, I would say that if I had to reference something that like keeps me very passionate, it's definitely the impacts that it has on younger girls and younger women. Yeah. Because we get DMs all the time like, oh my gosh, you helped my daughter fall in love with her hair again. Like, thank you so much for doing this. The teen experience itself is a series of workshops that we do for teens between the ages of 12 to 19. And we teach them everything from like how to buy a house, how to budget, how to write a CV, how to manage your career, like physical self-defense, literally everything that we think we should have been taught in school that we weren't.
That's amazing. Can I sign up? I don't class with the ages, but I need that.
I'm there organising it and I'm taking notes. Like, wow, this is amazing.
But I honestly think if there was more of that, and like you said, like when we were growing up, that wasn't a thing. Like, you know, how to get a mortgage or how do you get onto the property ladder? How do you even set up a business? Do you know what I mean? Like, hopefully, like I hope that people take that from this podcast as well. Like the information that we're giving out or the experiences that not everyone had it handed on a plate. Yeah. And it is a graft and it is hard. Do you know what I mean? But I think that's the beauty of learning.
Yes, absolutely.
That's amazing that you actually do these workshops with these young. Is it just girls, boys, or anyone?
Just girls. To be honest, COVID kind of made us slow down. Okay. Because we tried to do it online and the vibe just wasn't the same. Like, it's really everyone was tired. Young girls, so we're figuring out like what it looks like now post COVID, but it's been so beautiful because some of the girls that joined, they joined when they were like 14, and now they're like 19 in uni, and they met friends at the teen experience, and so they go out at weekends, and like we see them out together, and we're like, oh, look, our little sisters, like they're so sweet. So yeah, I think that's what makes me, that's what reminds me that I'm doing the right work, and makes it really, really meaningful, because it's just what I wanted, and I've kind of committed my life to like just creating the things that I really wish existed in the world. And that's definitely one of the things.
And I think that's where it's the most impactful. You know, when you have something that you didn't have growing up, but you know that someone else will benefit from that. And I think the community that you've created, the office space, the other females in your team, that in itself is something beautiful. Like we don't have that, like a all-female working space. Because I remember once we were talking about, but when women come on their period, they can't make business decisions, or they can't make certain decisions because their hormones are everywhere. Whereas if you're amongst other women, you know that, okay, it's cool, like it's not her day today. Let's come back to it tomorrow. But it's nice to you have that community, and you have that sense of feeling in your office or with the young girls that you're working with, because that's not, I haven't heard of a lot of people doing that. Especially in Birmingham either. All right, guys, we're setting up some classes.
Personal development.
You can come help set it up. Okay, so talking about obviously what you want to do with the business, have you got any plans of things that you want to do in the future, how you want to branch up, or?
For me, one of the early things that I learned was that like the problem that I'm solving is not a local problem. Because when we sent out our first batch of boxes, I had charged everyone like £3.95 shipping, postage and packaging, because I just thought standard, it will cover Royal Mail at the time, not anymore. It will cover Royal Mail and any packaging needs. And then we came across an address and it was in South Africa. And I was like, what the hell? I don't know how to send packages to South Africa.
Send myself with it.
I'm like still packing these boxes into the back of my car. I'm like, what do I say when I get to the post office? I don't know how much it's going to cost. Anyway, sent the box out, but then that made me realize, oh my God, like it's not
international.
We've actually got international customers.
It's not just in England, like it's no way.
And then as time progressed, America became our second biggest market, and I was like, why are Americans buying our products when we're literally importing the products from America to put them in our boxes, and then we're sending it back to America? But then I think that's when I learned like the value of actually building a brand. Like it's not always about the physical product itself. It's a lot about the feeling, the emotion, and the passion and the community that a brand
that
creates.
You've created.
Yeah. So it was like women all over the world wanting to be a part of this unboxing experience. We call it like a ritual. Like women just know that when their box arrives, the first thing you do is open it and take a video of the product because you want to show everyone what you're using. And then lots of women who like just organically will show us how they're using their hair, how they're washing their hair, how they're using the products, and they're like sending us all this content for free. And we're like, this is amazing.
Marketing at its finest.
Literally, but we're like, amazing. We're able to see how people engage with the box. Little things like, there was a time when we were doing booklets in every box, and we were like writing out how you use each product. And then when we were watching the videos, the women were like, to the flyer, and they just wanted to get to the products. So we're like, okay, cool. This is
and everyone used it differently as well.
Right.
And you got to remember what your issue was. So many of the females are going to have the same issue. So many. And the fact
also what's a priority for me may not be a priority for them. So for me, it was like the education, but for them, they just wanted to get their hands on the product. So we were like, okay, we
you've done all the hard work. That is the hard work, practicing these products, putting them on your hair, trialing them out. Like that is initially the hard point. And then when you've got them all boxed up in one place, winning. Less work.
So it's always interesting to see how people interact with the boxes and what's important to them and what's not. Even down to little things like our first box had no branding on the inside, only on the outside. So when people were taking videos, you couldn't actually tell where they were getting their stuff from because there was no branding on the inside.
You learned a lot about branding along the way.
We learned a lot about packaging. I continue to learn.
So talking about obviously like the business and how it started off and where you see it now, I also know that you created a pop-up in Grand Central.
Yes.
And I remember walking past that, and I actually remember saying, oh my God, I know the girl that set this up. And that's when I'd message you.
No
but
way.
When I walked in, I was like, wow. Like, it's such a big space. There's so many products. It's such a vibe inside. But how did that happen? Like, you've gone from online now to having an in-store presence. And, like, setting up a business is a tangible one where you've got customers coming in isn't the easiest thing. So how did that come up? What even stemmed that up? How did that happen?
So we've actually been hosting pop-ups since 2018. The first one was in 2018. And it was actually an intern that proposed the idea. And I was like,
Gotta love these interns.
I was like, we're not doing a pop-up where we have like one rail of t-shirts. Like, we're absolutely not doing that. if we're doing a pop-up, it's got to be experiential. It's got to be like something that people are really going to talk about.
Yeah.
We can't have the typical pop-up. So the first one, the theme was revolutionizing retail. So we were like, in our minds, what should a beauty shop look like that caters to curly hair? And so we built the shop like that. We had the products categorized by their function. So instead of like just having like a Shea Moisture shampoo, conditioner, leave-in all together, all of the shampoos are together, all of the conditioners are together, so that it makes sense as far as a process for washing your hair. And then we had like...
Why, there's so many products there. Like, I remember walking in, I was like, whoa, where do I start?
Yeah. The idea is that it's categorized in a way that we can actually walk you through the wash day, and you can tell us your needs, and we can say, okay, this is the shampoo that you'll need. This is the conditioner that you'll need. So that was 2018. 2019, we had the second pop-up in Shoreditch, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah, Shoreditch. And we created a theme called Home of TT. So we had an art gallery and we literally turned it into a home. So we built a front room, a living room, 2 bedrooms, a bathroom.
Wow.
And we had each room sponsored by a different brand. And again, it was that experiential feel. Like when people come into the space, what do they think? What do they feel? Like, are there lots of photo opportunities? Is the space conducive to them meeting other women and having good conversations? So yeah, we've always just done stuff differently from hair care brands and beauty brands as far as a way to build community, interactive, and just really, really authentic and grassroots. After Shoreditch, we had lockdown, and we had a online pop-up shop called TT Travels, where we created like a fake airline, and like we dressed up as like air hostesses.
And you know, I love the creativity. Like I always, it literally, like I'm like, wow. Like, how do you think of these ideas? I'm like, yeah, it's lockdown, guys. Shut the business down.
We were like, we've got to do it on, like we've got to do it, so we're going to do it online. So instead of booking, it looked like you were booking your seat on an aeroplane, but you were actually like selecting the box that you want, and then you were able to build your boxes that way. And then 2021, we had our pop-up in London Bridge Station. And that was Hotel Treasure Tress, because we were like, okay, you've boarded a flight, now your next stop is a hotel. So we created a hotel lobby and had the products. And then this year was 7 Girls. And it was because we were celebrating 7 years of business.
Wow.
We actually had a different theme in mind, and then we didn't get the retail space that we wanted. And then when we found this retail space, we were like, the theme doesn't work here. Yeah. And we had another theme in our back pocket, so like let's use that theme and see what happens. And it's probably the pop-up I've been most proud of. Not only has it been most successful sales-wise, but the Birmingham community really came out like time and time again. Yeah. And the theme was exactly how I saw it in my mind. Like a lot of the time I have an idea in my mind, and then we kind of get close to executing it, but not all the way. But this time I was like, yeah, we nailed it. Like this is actually what I wanted it to look like. And this is what. But
I remember walking past as a customer, even prior to messaging, I was like, "Wow, what?" Like it drew me in that shop. There, like I was drawn in, and I was like, "Wow!" Like I was on the way to Joe and the Juice, and I saw it, and I was like, "What's this?" It looks amazing. It's like hair products. Okay, get some in my basket, and that's when I had met. It's crazy to think that there was so much process before you had even opened that one up. There's me thinking, she's just opened it up recently.
No, we've been running pop-ups, but every year we're like, okay,
new spot, new place.
How can we innovate? What are we going to do differently? Like, how are we going to make buying products enjoyable, engaging, and like make people curious? And everyone came into that store. Like, so many bald white men came in, and I was like, and they were like, hi.
I ain't got anything for you. I got soap.
Some of them were like, look, this is sick. Like, this is sick marketing. Whoever thought of this is a genius. And others were like, look, my wife's black, my daughter's mixed race. I want to buy her a box because I want her to take better care of her hair.
Oh.
And so many people came in like, my daughter's mixed race. She hates her hair. I want her to love it. Like, can you help me build a box for her?
That's amazing.
Yeah. And when you have those conversations, you're like, yeah, this is
now
why
I know
I'm doing. And this is why I'm doing what I do, because like, you'll know, as a young girl that's not white, you don't see yourself anywhere.
It's hard, and I feel like and I was saying this earlier, only in this generation are we seeing more of it. Like, if you look back 10 years ago, there wasn't us on billboards. We went on, like, L'Oreal ads. These things weren't happening for us. And I feel like this influencer community has allowed that to happen and has allowed us to venture out. And you got to remember, for young females, like, we always see men trying to strive for the best, and it's we put ourselves in the back seat, and we do it to ourselves ultimately. Like growing up, we're like, oh, but women can't do that. But who said women can't do that?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And we put the fear into ourselves, because there's no men out there saying you can't do this. I think it's just assumed that women can't open up businesses, women can't do this.
It's a bit subconscious though. I think
it's taught to us somewhere, like somewhere along the line we've seen it. Like I think I would say from like early on in my childhood, like, you know, the men would go out to work, women stayed at home. That, and I think over time it's kind of stemmed away from it. Like females are going out, and I think again that's why this podcast started, because I want other females to start up businesses and not to be scared and to be their best versions of themselves and to have that confidence to just go and take whatever it is that they want. Yeah. Because again, if you're not going to hear it from someone that looks like you, where are you going to hear it from?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're going to have a midlife crisis in your 40s. Like, I should have done this and that. Do you know what I mean? And I think the beauty of it is seeing people like you or someone similar to you thinking, I've had that struggle and I want to overcome it. And it's familiarity, right? Yeah. Just seeing someone like you. Yeah, definitely. The pop-up that you did. Yes. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone? Because I know, like, trying to get, like, trying to get people in to, like, organize things, to get things set up, it's a nightmare. So one thing that you would tell someone when setting up a business or a pop-up or a shop even?
My piece of advice, like, you just can't do it by yourself. Yeah. Like, you absolutely need a team. No, literally. You need a team of people that know exactly what they're doing. But what this pop-up taught me is know people who know exactly what they're doing, but their working style is compatible with yours. Yes. Because you need to be able to, like, it gets very stressful. We were there till like 5 a.m. so many nights before we opened because we were like, we need to get this right. We need to get the products out. There's products arriving. There's lorries coming from London. Like, there was so many different electricians coming, like carpenters. There were so many people in the space and things that needed to get done. And it becomes really, really stressful. So you need to be able to speak the same language as the people that you're working with. Like, not literally, but like... Because that's their field. Like, I feel like electricians, plumbers, they don't get enough credit. They're amazing. I kid you not. When you're setting up a business, you need electrics. You need someone to do your plumbing. You need someone to do your flooring. You're like, where are these people? Because they need a pat on the back. Because I couldn't do that. Yeah, but you also... What we done, and I'm proud of it, is that we found someone that had all of those connections, and then a good contractor. They were able to take hold of it. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's really important to have stakeholders who your working styles match, your work ethics match, and everyone's got the same desired outcome. Yeah. Which was like, this sketch that we've got here, we need to bring it in real life in this space. And do you have we're not leaving until we do that. Yeah. And like, everyone needs to have a commitment to that, I think. And I think you have to be persistent on what you want. Yes. Like, having a vision and being half-hearted on it. You can't. You've got to, like, say, no, sorry, that sign is not bright enough. Take it back and bring me another sign. What you're doing. 100%. Yeah. Amazing that you've set that up. And I love that even though you're from London, you set it up in Birmingham to think that, like, you know, there's other females that need that as well. Recently, I seen that you was on Richard Branson's Island. Yeah. Whoa. What was happening there? Because I was like, you told me you're traveling. And I was like, yeah, she probably is going on a holiday. When I saw it, I was like, what? You were like seminars or you was... Yeah. What was that? Tell me. I'm so intrigued. I went there for NECA Summit. It's a business summit that takes place on Richard Branson's island. Okay. For every event that happens on his island, there's like a series of hosts. And then the hosts are able to invite guests. So it's an invitation only type situation. So guys, we can't go then. So many people are like, I'm just going to book a ticket to NECA. I was like, I don't think you'll be able to get to the island. But you can try. But yeah, it was one of my mentors who's now more of a friend. He was one of the hosts and he was like, hey, I'm doing this summit. It's a business summit. There's going to be amazing entrepreneurs there. I think that you should definitely come. And I definitely think you've got value to add. So I was like, okay, like, when is it? Like, what's How did you feel when he asked you? Because I remember you saying it was on your mood board as well, or like your vision board. Do you know what? I didn't realize that it was on my vision board until the week before when I was trying to plan out my outfits. And I was working on my vision boards. And then I went to look at my old vision board and I saw the picture of this island, and then I was like, hold on a minute, I'm sure that's NECA Island. Then I Googled it, and the exact same picture came up on Google that was on my vision board. You brought it to life. And that was in 2016 that I added NECA Island to my vision board. What? And I added NECA Island to my vision board because it's my goal to... I want to buy an island of my own. So I was like, okay, this is like what an island looks like. Let me put it on my vision board and see what happens. So you didn't actually know which island it was? I didn't know which island it was. I just Googled an island and put it on there because I want to buy an island. And then I was like, oh, wow, I'm going to NECA Island, which has been on my vision board for how many years? Even I'm in awe of that. I honestly got goosebumps and I was like, okay, this is how I know that I'm definitely meant to be going. Yeah. Because obviously I was like, should I go? Like, not obviously should I go. It's not even a choice. It's not a choice, but equally, imposter syndrome's real. So it's like, like there were some big boys on that island, and I was like, wow, I do want to actually touch on that. Like, what was it like being amongst these people? Yeah, once I got there, I felt perfectly fine. Yeah. what I've noticed about imposter syndrome for me is that it comes before the opportunity, but when I'm in the opportunity, I will take up as much space as I need to. So I felt fine when I was there, but on the lead up to, I was like, oh my God, like who's going? And like, there's not that much information that you get before you go. So it's like, this is the price, these are the dates, this is where you need to fly to, this is when you need to be there by. And I was like, oh, do I go? I don't know. Like, I need to sort out some stuff with the business. But then I was like, do you know what? The business will be there when I get back. This is not an opportunity. Well. Literally, this is not an opportunity that comes every day. And it's also an opportunity that could literally change my life.
Yeah.
So let me go, let me be around these people, and let me see what happens. So I actually called someone who had been before, a guy called Carl Loco, and he was like, go. Like, the vibration on the island is different. Like, the energy on the island is different. Go and make the most of it. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm going. So, I booked, went, and then arrived, didn't know anyone other than my friend that was one of the hosts. And I was surrounded by all these people. There were two sides. So there was the business side, and there was another seminar which was called Ultramarine, which is very much focused on like keeping the earth green, taking care of the oceans.
Okay.
And I was like, this is so far removed from like my day to day. Like, what am I doing here? But it was really interesting to see that even the people that were really focused on like caring for the oceans, taking care of the earth, they had started their careers in business, had earned a lot of money, and then were now trying to think about ways that they could be more responsible. And I thought, okay, there's like something to learn from everyone here. And equally, there's a lot to teach because I'm in a completely different stage of my life than they were. I think I was probably the second youngest person, and then one of two black women. There weren't any black men, which was quite strange. So like
no way.
The minority, and there were like 90 people on the island. The only other black women were the staff. And that's something that made me a little bit upset when I got there, because when I got to the airport, and I was coming through customs, they were like, hey, where are you going? Like, where are you staying? And I was like, I'm going to Necker Island. And they were like, oh, are you working there? And I was like, no, I'm here as a guest.
No
and
way.
And they were like, oh, and I was like, okay, what am I getting myself into? But then when I got there, I was like, okay, I understand why they asked that question. To me, it was like, perfect. It's great that I'm here then. I get used to seeing young black women in these spaces. I found myself like just observing and like taking notes at every possible moment. And then Richard Branson himself was literally, he lives on the island. So he was just walking around the island. Like, you'd be having dinner and he would just walk past. You'd be in the pool, he would just get in the pool in the hot tub. Like,
did you speak to him? Did you get the chance to
I got to speak to him briefly, but he he had a cold. Oh. And so he was like visually like trying to keep himself away from anyone because he didn't want to pass it on. But by far the most down to earth person you will ever meet. Like, yeah, we were having dinner and it was a fancy dress day. He couldn't think of a fancy dress, so he came in his pajamas. He was like just walking around taking pictures with people. Like, he's an absolute G. Like, I have so much respect for him. So much respect for him. And I just think like how amazing, like you had this idea for a music label, you turned that into an airline company. You then bought an island, and now your family have this island that they live on, and your grandkids just come and live on an island every summer. Like, that's levels.
That's amazing. That's the dream. That's the end goal.
So it was transformational. Like, even just a reminder that like you don't have to limit yourself by your surroundings. Yeah. And to always take opportunities that force you out of your comfort zone, because there was no one else from the UK there.
Really?
Actually, no, there was, but she was American. There were no other British-born people there.
But then I feel like we forget that, like, I always say the world's bigger than Birmingham, but how many people there are? Like, do you mean like so many other countries would have gone to that place, and like one representative from each one almost. But that's insane. Like, what's one thing that you'd say you've learned from that experience?
The first thing I always say is that people have mad money. There's actually mad money in this world, is what I learned. But as far as like a business lesson, I would say...
Still mad money.
Mad money to be made. Asking for help. Like, what I really, really appreciated about the whole experience was we done an exercise where everyone had to introduce themselves, say what they had to offer, and say what they needed. And I thought, wow, like that's actually a really vulnerable conversation, because I know that as a solo founder, like, you just got to have the answers. You've got to have it together and you've got to figure it out. And I'm used to doing it by myself. So I'm actually not very good at asking for help, which is actually what my intention for February is. Yeah. So I was like, wow, like these people, like the guy that created Tetris, the game Tetris, he was on the island. The guy that created Farmville was on the island. Like, real life geniuses were on that island.
Tech. Oh my God, the money's in
Tetris.
tech.
and they got up and they were like, hey, this is what I need and this is what I have to offer. And I thought, wow, that's actually such an amazing conversation to have, and one that I want to have more of, especially in business. Like, hey, this is what I can help you with, and this is what I really need help with.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was like
it's
the power
growth
of
as well.
vulnerability.
So yeah. That's insane.
Yeah.
Do you want to share what what did you ask for, or?
Yeah, I asked for guidance and advisors, because I was like, look, I've never scaled a company. Yeah. I'm a first-time founder. Like, there's such amazing experience on this island. Like, would love to have a conversation about raising, about scaling, about building leadership teams, all of the above.
Amazing. Did you get your answers?
Yes, I did actually.
Amazing. So we're hoping to see you scale up real big, real soon.
Absolutely. No pressure.
What piece of advice would you give to someone who is going through something similar to what you did?
Yes.
But when you were younger and you had this idea in your brain, what advice would you give to someone who wants maybe to start off someone's journey earlier, quicker, or just give them that bit of push?
I feel like I've got so many. I say I've got so many because you said quicker, and I think that that's such an important thing, because in this day and age, everyone thinks that everything's overnight. Yeah. Nothing is overnight. Tress to get to the point of opening a store in Birmingham, that was a 7-year journey. Wow. So like nothing happens overnight, and I don't think that we should take experiences for granted. Like, you'll notice that I said that in Beijing, I lost my brush and I couldn't find hair products. And then when I was in New York, I found the subscription box idea. And that's when I was working in fashion PR. And then when I was in entertainment PR, I learned how to pitch. And then when I was at asset management, I learned how to host meetings. And like, there were little things that I learned along my journey. Yeah. And I feel like now it's like, have an idea, launch a business, that's it. But like, okay.
Where's the authenticity from it? Where's
but also like build your experience as well. And don't take things for granted. Like, even if it's your job to flip pancakes at Milk Cake Man, then like there's still a lesson to be learned. Like, you get to observe how a business is run. You get to meet various different people. Like, there's always skills to be learned. I don't feel like we always have to rush the finish line, because ultimately there is no finish line. Yeah. And the goalpost always moves. Like, for me, the big goal was like, get an office. Okay, got an office in a warehouse. Okay, cool. Next one, work with a fulfillment center. Like, the goalpost always moves. So I think it's important to like understand the journey and like wherever you are, learn the lessons that you're meant to learn in that period of your life.
That's an amazing piece of advice. And I think I love a bit about skills. The skills you have to learn from everywhere. Like, it's going to make you who you are. Like, even if you're in your early 20s, you've still got so much more to learn. Coming out of uni, like, fresh out of uni, there's so much more to learn.
And I would say always do the most, like, if an opportunity comes in your late teens, early 20s, go for it. Like,
take it.
Beijing. Why was I in Beijing? I just wanted to experience the culture and gain some experience. Like, okay, why go to New York instead of staying in London? Because again, it opens me up to new experiences. Like, there's so many things that you can do that might seem a bit random, or like your friends might not want to do. But if you want to do it and it spikes your interest for some reason, then I think it's definitely worth pursuing.
And it's all helped for you to become who you are today.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you for such an amazing conversation. I hope you enjoy the food. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Thank you guys for listening. Thank Jamelia for coming on down all the way from London. You guys can like, comment, subscribe. I'll put everyone's handles below. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.